He was just finishing lunch in a quiet corner of the restaurant when a little girl walked up, smiled shyly, and handed him a crumpled napkin with a few shaky words scribbled in blue ink. I think I used to know you. In the sky. My name used to be Emily. 5 years ago, his wife and daughter vanished in a plane crash. No survivors, no remains. But now with those 8 words from a stranger's child, his world shattered all over again. Or maybe began again. Nathan Collins sat alone at a corner table in the back of the restaurant, his suit jacket draped over the chair beside him. The low hum of quiet conversation and clinking silverware filled the cozy Italian bistro, but he heard none of it. His gaze was fixed on the untouched glass of red wine in front of him. He came here every year on the same day, always ordering the same meal, and always leaving half of it untouched. It was the day his world had ended. 5 years ago, on a cloudless morning, his wife Claire and their 6-year-old daughter Emily boarded a flight to Hawaii. A last-minute decision. He had stayed behind for a board meeting. He remembered kissing them goodbye, brushing a strand of hair from Emily's forehead, promising to meet them in 2 days. The plane never made it. Mechanical failure, they said. The aircraft broke apart and vanished into the Pacific. No survivors. No remains. Nathan didn't just lose his family that day. He lost the man he used to be. The empire he'd built, the headlines that praised his name, the accolades, none of it mattered anymore. Success meant nothing without someone to share it with. He had everything and nothing. He had just asked for the check when he felt a light tap on his elbow. He looked up, startled. A little girl, no more than 10, stood beside his table. Her brown hair was pulled into a messy ponytail, her dress slightly wrinkled, and she clutched a folded napkin and a blue pen. Her eyes were wide, strangely familiar. "Can I leave you something?" she asked, her voice soft, polite. Nathan blinked, unsure what to say. He simply nodded. The girl smiled shyly, scribbled something quickly on the napkin, and placed it on the edge of the table before turning and skipping away. He watched her weave between tables, back toward a woman in a denim jacket who was already reaching for her hand. A moment later, they were gone. Nathan looked down at the napkin. The words were written in uneven, childlike handwriting. I think I used to know you. In the sky. My name used to be Emily. His breath caught. His heart stuttered. He stared at the message, frozen. The restaurant blurred around him. The room was suddenly too quiet and too loud all at once. The name hit him like a blow to the chest. Emily. He felt it rising in his throat before he could stop it. The first real tears in 5 years. His hand trembled as he reached for the napkin again, reading the words over and over, trying to make sense of them, trying to breathe. The waitress approached with the check, saw his face and paused. Sir, are you all right? He didn't answer. Couldn't. He just held onto the napkin like it was the last piece of the sky he'd never stopped searching. Nathan didn't sleep that night. He sat in the armchair by the window of his penthouse, the lights of San Diego casting a soft glow across the hardwood floor. The napkin lay on the coffee table in front of him, smoothed out, but its creases still visible. He had read the message over 100 times, memorized every shaky letter, every strange but deliberate word choice. I think I used to know you. In the sky. My name used to be Emily. The phrasing haunted him. Used to be Emily. What child writes that? It wasn't playful or random. It was too precise, too loaded. He thought of her face, those wide, deep brown eyes, her cautious little smile, the way she held the pen like it was something sacred. And most of all, the feeling he couldn't shake, that her eyes were the same as Claire's, the same as Emily's. He poured himself a glass of water he didn't drink and stared out over the dark city. There had been no evidence she survived. None. But then again, there had been no remains either. Only silence. Only ocean. Could a child, small, confused, traumatized, have slipped through the cracks? Been rescued without anyone realizing who she was? He stood abruptly and walked into the study. Pulled open the bottom drawer of the filing cabinet he hadn't touched in years. Inside were only a few items. Documents, old flight information, photos. He picked up the photo of Emily on her 6th birthday, beaming in a yellow dress, face smudged with chocolate cake. He held it up beside the napkin and just stared. The next morning, Nathan returned to the restaurant. He questioned the staff. Waiters, hostess, the manager. Most had no idea what he was talking about. One of the younger waitresses remembered the girl. She came in with a woman, maybe early 30s. Worn jeans, kind of quiet. They didn't stay long. Did they pay cash? Nathan asked. I think so. No name on the receipt. Did they make a reservation? No, just walk-ins. He asked about security cameras. The manager looked apologetic. The system's been down for a week. Sorry. Nathan stepped outside, pacing along the sidewalk, heart pounding. He felt like he was chasing a ghost, but he couldn't let it go. He called his assistant, told her to clear his schedule for the next 2 days. Then, almost without thinking, he called an old contact, Cal Monroe, a former investigator who once handled security for Nathan's firm. Cal picked up on the second ring. Collins, he said. It's been a while. I need you, Nathan said. It's not business. It's personal. And it's urgent. There was a pause on the line. Where do I start? A girl, around 10, came into Il Ristorante yesterday afternoon with a woman. I have a message she left me. I think, he hesitated, the words sharp in his throat. I think she might be my daughter. Silence. Thought your daughter died, Cal finally said. So did I. Nathan's voice cracked. But now I'm not sure. He gave him the details, the napkin, the description, the timeline. Cal didn't ask too many questions. He never did. Just promised to be in touch within 24 hours. Nathan ended the call and walked back to his car. He looked down at the napkin again before pulling away. Maybe it was madness. Maybe it was grief playing tricks. But something inside him whispered that he hadn't imagined those eyes, that name, or those words. And if there was even a chance Emily was alive, he would find her, even if it meant chasing the impossible. 22 hours later, Nathan's phone buzzed just as he was stepping out of the elevator onto the ground floor of his building. The name on the screen read Cal Monroe. He answered immediately. I found them, Cal said, voice calm and certain. The girl and the woman. Nathan's breath caught. Where? A woman named Rachel Moore, 34. She moved here from Maui about 8 months ago. Works part-time at a bookstore downtown and occasionally does shifts at Il Ristorante on weekends as a temp server. Single. No formal custody paperwork on the girl. Her name's Lily, age listed as 10. Nathan's heart pounded. Lily? Yeah. But here's the strange part, Cal continued. No birth certificate, no social security number in any U.S. registry. Nothing before 2018, just blank, which makes me think you were right. Nathan couldn't speak for a moment. He felt as if the floor beneath him had disappeared. His mind was spinning, a child with no past, a mother who didn't speak of adoption, a name that wasn't hers. Where do they live? He finally managed. I got an address, small apartment complex in East San Diego. Safe neighborhood, nothing fancy. You want to go yourself or want me to talk to her first? I'm going, Nathan said, already turning back toward the elevator. The drive felt like an eternity. He clutched the steering wheel tighter than necessary, replaying every word Cal had said. Lily. No records. Moved from Maui. He parked down the block and approached the building slowly. It was modest. Faded paint, a few potted plants on balconies, laundry swaying on lines. Children's bikes rested against the railing. Nathan waited, unsure what he was going to say. His heart was pounding in his throat. What if he was wrong? What if he was about to destroy someone's peace for nothing? Then he saw them. Rachel Moore stepped out of the building, holding a reusable shopping bag in one hand and gently guiding a little girl with the other. The girl looked up at her, smiling, then tugged on her sleeve and pointed at something across the street. Nathan stopped breathing. It was her. Even from a distance, there was no doubt. Her posture, the way her head tilted when she spoke, her expression. Her face was older, her hair a little darker, but the eyes, those were Emily's eyes. She didn't see him. Neither did Rachel. They walked together toward a corner market. Nathan watched them go, frozen in place, afraid that if he moved too quickly, the moment would vanish. He waited until they returned 20 minutes later. As they neared the apartment steps, he stepped forward. Rachel Moore, he said, voice quiet but firm. She stopped, immediately pulling the girl behind her. Who are you? She asked, eyes narrowing with instinctive protectiveness. Nathan raised both hands, palms open. My name is Nathan Collins. I'm sorry to come like this, truly. I just need to talk. About her. Rachel didn't relax. Her jaw tightened. I think she might be my daughter. Lily peeked out from behind Rachel's side, studying him with quiet curiosity. Nathan couldn't help but smile, a tremulous, broken smile filled with more emotion than words could carry. Rachel looked shaken. She glanced down at Lily, then back at him. You need to leave, she said. I'm not here to fight you. I'm not accusing you of anything. I just need answers. Rachel hesitated. There was a war behind her eyes, fear, uncertainty, memory. Then slowly, she nodded toward the building. Come in, she said, but only for a few minutes. And if you upset her, I'll call the cops. Nathan nodded. Fair enough. As he followed her inside, he noticed Lily glance back at him again. She didn't speak, but her eyes lingered. And for Nathan, that was already everything. The apartment was small but warm, lived in. A few children's drawings were taped to the walls, and books were stacked in uneven piles beside the worn-out couch. Toys peeked out from a soft fabric bin in the corner. Nathan stood just inside the doorway, his hands folded in front of him, trying to appear as non-threatening as possible. Rachel gestured to a chair. Sit if you want. Lily's in her room. I told her to give us a minute. Nathan sat down slowly, his eyes scanning the space, searching perhaps for a memory that would leap out and confirm what his heart already screamed. Rachel sat across from him, her arms crossed tightly. She looked nothing like a kidnapper. She looked tired, protective, maybe even scared. I know how this looks, she said, but before you say anything, let me tell you what happened. All of it. Nathan nodded, his voice low. That's all I want. Rachel drew in a breath, then began. I was working on Maui back in 2018, volunteering with a medical relief group. I was stationed near the shoreline when the rescue teams pulled survivors out of the ocean. One of the responders brought in a child, a girl, maybe 5 or 6. No ID, no name tag, no parents in sight. She was barely conscious, had a cut on her head, and was in shock. Nathan's throat tightened. She didn't speak for almost 3 days. When she did, all she said was her name, Emily. And she said something about the sky and fire and that she was going to the beach with her mom. Then she'd shut down again. Rachel paused, her voice trembling slightly. I stayed with her at the hospital. I couldn't let go. I kept thinking, this is someone's daughter. Someone is looking for her. But no one came. No one claimed her. And the disaster records? They didn't match anyone to her. Nathan's eyes brimmed with tears, because they thought she was dead. Rachel looked at him, sympathy in her eyes now. I believe that. She wouldn't let me out of her sight after that. Would scream if someone else tried to take her. The hospital called her a Jane Doe. Child welfare was understaffed. I kept checking back, offering to foster her temporarily while they figured things out. And, Nathan whispered, they never did. The records went cold. She started calling me Rachel. Then, Mom. I never lied to her. I told her I found her, that someone loved her before. She remembered pieces, but not enough. Only the name Emily. The rest was bits and shadows. Nathan stared at the floor. So you named her Lily. She chose it. Said she didn't want to be Sky Emily anymore. She wanted something new. I honored that. He nodded slowly, processing it all. You didn't take her. You saved her. Rachel leaned forward. I didn't know who you were until months later. I saw your name in a business article. She walked past, looked at the photo, and just froze. Said you looked like someone she dreamed about. Then she started drawing you. Nathan swallowed hard. Drawing me? In a suit, holding her hand, standing by the water. I didn't know what to do. I was scared I'd lose her if I reached out. And what if I was wrong? Nathan met her gaze. And what changed? She saw you at the restaurant. I didn't recognize you, but she did. And when she saw you alone, she asked for a napkin. Rachel's voice broke. I thought she was just being sweet. I didn't know what she wrote until later. They sat in silence, the weight of 5 lost years hanging between them. Then Rachel said softly, I'll agree to a DNA test. You deserve that. Nathan nodded, his voice almost a whisper. Thank you. Just then, Lily peeked from the hallway, clutching a book in her arms. "Can I come out now?" she asked. Rachel looked at Nathan, then back at Lily. "Yes, sweetheart. Come on." As Lily stepped into the room, her eyes flicked to Nathan. She gave him a soft, cautious smile. "Hi again," she said. "Did you like my napkin?" Nathan smiled through the lump in his throat. "I did," he said. "More than anything." The next morning, Nathan stood in the sterile hallway of the private DNA clinic, his hands buried deep in the pockets of his coat. The receptionist had already taken Rachel and Lily into the sample room, and now he was waiting for his turn. His stomach twisted with nerves, part fear, part hope, and a deep undercurrent of something harder to name. A strange kind of mourning for time he could never get back. He thought of Lily's face as she curled beside Rachel the night before, tired but content, flipping pages of a picture book as if the world hadn't just shifted beneath her feet. She was gentle, observant, a little guarded, but not closed. She had looked at him with familiarity, and he had felt something stir in him. Recognition, yes, but also something deeper. A bond. A pull. "Mr. Collins," the technician called. Nathan followed her silently into the small room, where the swab was taken in quiet efficiency. As he stepped out again, he passed Rachel in the hallway. "They said it'll take 48 hours, she told him. He nodded. "I can wait." Rachel hesitated, then added, "I believe you, Nathan, and I believe her." That night, Nathan couldn't sleep. He sat in his study with a photo album open, the one Claire had made for Emily's 6th birthday. He ran his fingers across the images. Emily on a swing, Emily holding a cupcake, Emily laughing in the pool, her front teeth missing, that big, unbothered grin. In one photo, she was holding his hand with both of hers, her tiny fingers wrapped tight. He had always loved that one. Now another image layered itself over the memory, Lily's fingers holding a napkin. 48 hours passed like a lifetime. When the results came in, he didn't read them alone. Rachel invited him to the apartment. She said Lily deserved to know with both of them present. The paper sat between them on the table. The lab's letterhead, one paragraph, one number. Probability of biological relationship, father-daughter, 99.9998%. Nathan didn't cry, not right away. He just stared at the page in stunned silence. Rachel covered her mouth. Lily sat on the couch, swinging her legs, unaware at first that everything had just changed. Then she asked, "Is it me?" Rachel nodded, blinking back tears. "It's you, honey." Lily looked at Nathan. "Does this mean you're my real dad?" Nathan walked slowly to the couch and knelt in front of her. "It means I've been your dad since the day you were born. And I've missed you every single day since." Lily tilted her head, thoughtful. "But I don't remember you." "That's okay," he said softly. "I remember you. And we can start from now." She reached out carefully and touched his wrist. Her small hand lingered there, almost testing the reality of him. Then without a word, she leaned forward and wrapped her arms around his neck. Nathan held her like he had dreamed of holding her for 5 long years. He buried his face in her shoulder and whispered, "I found you. I really found you." Lily whispered back, "I think I found you too." Rachel stood nearby, arms crossed, eyes full. She didn't interrupt. Nathan looked up at her. "I don't want to take her away from you. I just want to be in her life. However, you'll let me." Rachel nodded. "We'll figure it out. Together." That night, Nathan didn't go home. He stayed on their couch until Lily fell asleep, curled beside him. And for the first time in 5 years, the silence in his chest began to lift. It wasn't just proof. It was a beginning. The following days unfolded like a dream Nathan was afraid to wake up from. Everything he did, every meeting he attended, every call he took, felt like background noise compared to the thought that kept pulling at him. My daughter's alive. He started spending time with Lily in small, careful doses. Walks in the park, afternoons at the library. She was curious but cautious. She asked questions in her own time, and he never pushed. Instead, he listened. When she spoke about the ocean, he asked her what it sounded like. When she mentioned the stars, he asked her which ones she thought were the brightest. She responded to his calm energy. Rachel, ever observant, remained close by but never hovered. She was the buffer, the familiar, the one who had raised Lily with love and instinct, and Nathan never forgot that. He respected her, admired her. There was no resentment, only gratitude. One afternoon, they went to the zoo together. Lily clung to Rachel's hand at first, but by the time they reached the giraffes, she was walking beside Nathan, holding his finger. She turned to him suddenly and asked, "What was I like, before?" Nathan smiled. "You were loud and brave. You used to jump into pools without checking the temperature first. You made up your own songs. You gave names to all the birds in our neighborhood." She giggled. "That sounds like me now." "It does," he said, eyes watering. "You're still you." She looked up at him. "I don't remember it, but I believe you." That moment cemented something. Rachel and Nathan began discussing the future. She explained that she had already begun filing for guardianship once she moved to the mainland, but the paperwork had stalled due to Lily's undocumented background. Nathan offered to help, not as a power play, but to do it right. He brought in his legal team to fast-track a formal, shared custody arrangement. He made no demands. He never once suggested Lily move in with him or leave Rachel's home. Instead, he asked, "What's best for her?" Rachel replied, "What you're doing now, being here, not trying to erase anything, just adding to it." Nathan nodded. "Then I'll be here, for everything." And he was. He showed up at Lily's school concert, sitting in the back row with flowers. He helped with her science project about the moon. He brought dinner once a week and ate it at their tiny table like it was a palace. One evening, Rachel walked him to his car and hesitated before saying, "You're doing more than most would." "She's lucky." Nathan looked at her. "No, I'm lucky." He paused, then added, "You saved her. You gave her love when the world had forgotten her. I'll never forget that." Rachel smiled, tired and soft. "She saved me too, you know. I was lost before her." They stood in silence for a while, not as strangers anymore, but as two people who shared the same impossible miracle. As Nathan drove away that night, he glanced at the rearview mirror and saw Lily at the window waving. And in that simple gesture, he saw something he hadn't known he was missing: a future. Autumn arrived quietly, and with it, a rhythm began to form. Nathan no longer felt like a visitor in Lily's life. He became part of her routine, woven in with gentle steadiness. School pickups on Thursdays, weekend breakfasts at her favorite diner, a standing Sunday tradition of reading aloud at the library before Rachel's shift began. Their bond, though still new, was no longer tentative. Lily started calling him Dad when she thought no one was listening. Once, she slipped up and said it in front of Rachel. She froze, wide-eyed and nervous. But Rachel just smiled. "She's allowed to have more than one parent," she said softly. "Love isn't a limited resource." Nathan never forgot that. He began to show Lily parts of the life she had once belonged to, carefully at her pace. He brought her to his house one day, not the penthouse where he lived alone, but the old craftsman-style house in La Jolla, Emily's childhood home. He had kept it untouched, closed up for years like a sealed memory. They walked through the rooms together. Lily stopped at a bookshelf lined with old toys and photo frames. "This used to be mine?" she asked. "Yes," Nathan said, his voice catching. "You love the red bear. You named him Captain Pickles." She picked up the bear carefully, studying it like a long-lost artifact. "He smells like cinnamon and crayons." "That's you remembering," he said with a quiet smile. She held Captain Pickles tightly all the way back to the car. Another day, she asked about her mom. Nathan took her to a quiet bench by the ocean and told her everything. About Claire's kindness, her laugh, her terrible dance moves, the way she always burned toast but tried anyway. Lily listened in silence, leaning against him as he spoke. She didn't cry. She just held his hand and watched the water. Later at home, she drew a picture of a woman with a bright yellow dress and curly hair. "This is her," she said. "I don't remember her face, but I think this is what she feels like." Nathan took the picture and framed it. Meanwhile, the shared custody paperwork went through smoothly. Nathan made it clear to his lawyers, no fight, no claims. Rachel was her mother too, legally and emotionally. They were raising her together now. Publicly, Nathan remained quiet. Only his closest colleagues knew. There were no press releases, no interviews. It wasn't for the world. It was for them. But one night at a fundraiser gala, an old friend and business partner approached him. "I heard," the man said, "your daughter." "My God, Nathan," I thought. "So did I," Nathan replied. "But life gave her back." The man nodded, then asked, "How do you move forward after something like that?" Nathan smiled. "You don't go back. You build something new, brick by brick." The next morning, Nathan took Lily to her first horseback riding lesson, a hobby she had once loved as a toddler. She was hesitant at first, but within 10 minutes, she was beaming, clinging to the saddle and laughing as the pony trotted in slow circles. Rachel watched from the fence, arms crossed, tears in her eyes. Nathan came to stand beside her. "She's not just surviving anymore," Rachel whispered. "She's becoming who she was meant to be." Nathan nodded. And for the first time in years, the ache in his chest was no longer the absence of what he'd lost, but the fullness of what he had found. The morning of Lily's 11th birthday was quiet, soft and golden with sunlight. She woke up to the smell of pancakes and vanilla and the low sound of two voices in the kitchen, Rachel's and Nathan's. That alone made her smile. It was the first birthday she would celebrate with both of them. Rachel had baked the cake the night before, a lopsided chocolate strawberry tower with pink icing that leaned a little to the left. Nathan had tried to help, but ended up getting more frosting on himself than the cake. Lily had watched them laugh through it, her heart light in a way it hadn't felt in years. She came out in her pajamas, rubbing her eyes, and found the table already set. Balloons. A handmade paper banner that said, "Happy Birthday, Lily," in crooked block letters. Nathan handed her a small gift wrapped in tissue paper. Inside was a necklace with a tiny gold charm shaped like a paper napkin, engraved with the words, "Found you." Lily's eyes went wide. She traced the charm with her finger and whispered, "This is from that day." Nathan nodded. "The day you found me. Or maybe, I found you." Rachel leaned down and kissed the top of her head. "Both. That's what makes it special." They spent the day together, just the three of them. No party, no photographers, no crowds. Just a hike through the canyon trail, a picnic lunch, and stories shared under the trees. Nathan told her about the time Emily tried to build a kite out of cereal boxes. Rachel told her about the night she first sang herself to sleep. Lily laughed, asked questions, told them how she wanted to be a writer, or maybe a zookeeper, or both. Later that evening, back home, Lily asked if she could sleep in the middle, between them like she used to with Rachel, when the nightmares were too loud. They agreed. She fell asleep under a heavy quilt, her hands resting on both theirs. That night, Nathan stayed awake a little longer. He stared at the ceiling, listening to the soft, even breaths of his daughter beside him. A girl who had disappeared into the sky and returned with new names, new stories, new scars, and still somehow, the same soul. He thought about Claire. He didn't cry. Not this time. Instead, he whispered, "She's safe. She's home." Months later, Nathan opened a foundation. Not for PR, not to be admired, but because he knew the ache of every parent still searching, the torment of unanswered questions. The foundation was called the Napkin Project, dedicated to reconnecting missing children with their families, offering private investigation help, legal support, and trauma counseling. The logo? A tiny hand-drawn napkin, folded in half. During the launch event, Lily stood beside him, holding his hand as reporters watched. When one of them asked her what the foundation meant to her, she stepped up to the microphone, nervous but brave. "I used to think I came from nowhere," she said, "but now I know I came from love. I was never lost, just waiting to be found." The crowd went silent. Cameras flashed. Nathan didn't care about the photos. He only looked at his daughter. And for the first time since the crash all those years ago, his heart felt whole again. In my view as the author, the ending of this story isn't just happy, it's deeply healing. It's not a miracle in the magical sense, but a miracle born from memory, love, and the quiet strength of human connection. Nathan doesn't just find his daughter, he finds meaning in the emptiness he's carried for years. And Lily doesn't simply return to a biological parent, she reconnects with a piece of herself and bridges two lives, the one where she survived and the one where she was mourned and missed. What makes this ending powerful is its honesty. There are no winners or losers, just people choosing compassion over conflict and choosing to build something together rather than fight over what was lost. That choice, that maturity, is what makes the resolution so moving. To me, this final chapter is a reminder. Sometimes life gives us a second chance, not to erase the past, but to continue the story.